All right, welcome back. It's still Rapid Dawn right here, Rapid TV channel 176 on Star Times, and we still have a couple of things to talk about before we get out of here at about 10 this morning. So, we did tell you earlier on that we're going to be having a guest on the show this morning, and we were talking about something relating to building resilience in challenging time, and more about overcoming setbacks, economic downturns, and crisis. To have this conversation with us, we are having uh, a woman of impact, and she has many credits to her in the person of Talks Aru Otore, and she's joining us virtually this morning. I don't know if she's there on the line. Good morning.
Morning. Hi, how you doing?
I'm very well. Can you hear us very clearly?
I can, yes.
Okay.
Very well. Thank you once again for joining us. Let's kickstart the conversation this morning. We live in a time where most economies, this is not peculiar to Nigeria now, it's not looking good for most people. The numbers regarding inflation, unemployment are at an all-time high. And when you talk to a lot of people, what you find is that there's a general feeling of hopelessness. Most people are tired, and it's a bleak situation for most individuals. I don't know if this is a situation that you can relate with and if you've seen these things happen around you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. Well, resilience is something that's needed in a world that is imperfect. And regardless of where where in the world we're looking at, there's always going to be situations where people have had to deal with challenges. I've had to do it personally. 2008, I lost my business. I didn't just lose my business, I lost everything I ever owned. And it was a great recession. I had to learn how to cope, and I can very much relate to what Nigerians are going through, uh, even in the United Kingdom, which is where I'm based. It's a very similar mindset, especially where a very similar atmosphere, especially where business is concerned. The discouragement is real. The economy in Nigeria is real. We hear everything about it, where we are, and yeah,
So, hello, can you hear us? I don't know if this is from our end or from yours, but your voice seems to be breaking.
I think it's my signal's fine, so probably not for me.
Can you hear
I
us?
can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you clearly.
Uh, that means we are the ones unable to hear you.
Hmm.
Um, okay, we could try again. Yes, you were saying.
So I was saying that I can relate to the situation in Nigeria because I've been through it myself. I lost everything I ever owned in the Great Recession, lost my business, lost everything. And I remember the feeling of hopelessness, uncertainty about the future, just not knowing what to do going forward.
Mm. All right. If I did hear you well, you talked about a personal experience of yours where you
Hmm.
had to lose a lot of things, and you were torn apart. How were you able to scale through that time where it looked as if nothing was working? You had to lose a lot of things. Let's not also forget that today is drug day, and also this when people lose things like this, it could be a reason why some people turn to drugs. How were you able to scale through that entire process to become the person that you are today?
Well, I, I had to dig within myself. I had to, having looked.
How about we take a moment? Let's try to fix the sound and get your voice as smooth as possible, and then we'll be right back. Let's take a short break, everyone.
Hello, doctor. Can I get the tramadol for the road? Body they pay me
to make I check your body, then I will tell you wait till you need.
Hello, doctor. I know it's the way to wait. I know it's the way to
Wait to make I check your body, then I go tell you wait till you need.
Hello, doctor. No need to check me. I know say now waiting my body need. Is it your body? I don't feel wait. I don't feel wait. Hello, doctor. You see, I am coughing. I need codeine or I go enter coffin.
Wait to make I check your body,
I don't feel
then I
to
go tell you wait till you need.
Give me cannabis or sesame, please. I need to end this feeling.
Wait to make I check your body, then I will tell you wait till you need.
Hello, doctor, waiting I do myself. I've been known to say, but I didn't want somebody.
Wait to make I check your body, then I will tell you wait till you need.
Doctor, help me check my body. I need your help before it's too late. Hi.
All right, welcome back there. I just hope that is sorted out. If we still have talks still joining us there to have this conversation about building resilience in challenging times, the economy. I don't know if you can hear us, if it's better this time.
I can hear you clearly, yes. I'm hoping that you can hear me better now.
Okay.
All right. So yes, I was asking you regarding today's World Drugs Day. You did talk about your experiences. You did talk about how you were faced with a downtime, economic hardship, things going sideways. And at any point, we didn't get to hear that, oh, Talks had an issue with drugs. But some persons, maybe we don't know that information. Maybe you will share with us. Some persons, when they are faced with economic crisis, depression, sleeping, nothing is working, they turn to drugs for that temporary feeling and satisfaction. For you, what was it like? How were you able to overcome that phase in your life to become the person that you are today?
Okay, so turning to drugs is just a form of medicating for starters, and many people medicate one way or the other. It may not necessarily be through drugs, but it could be through detaching yourself from reality, going into a zone where all you're doing is scrolling through your phone, Netflix, eating, alcohol, all kinds of behaviors are forms of medication to stop you from thinking about the situation you're in. And I'm not exempt from that. I may not have turned to drugs, but I know that I did detach myself and look for other ways in which I could cope that were unhealthy. However, one of the things I realized after searching around and finding that there was no help coming from anywhere was to look within myself. And we're all created with an array of gifts and abilities that we can use to navigate whatever circumstances throw our way. Now, the problem is that those abilities and gifts are swaddled by limiting thoughts and limiting beliefs, which makes it difficult for us to access. And so when we're going through a tough time, like a rough economic situation, we have nothing within us to pull from, but we think we have nothing, but we do. And so practicing gratitude is one of the ways in which one of the things I started to do was the daily gratitude, because when you focus on what you have, it takes your eyes off what you don't have. And then you can see that actually I have components around me that I can use to, move myself forward. Another practice is journaling. Journaling your thoughts allows you to put all of your thoughts on paper so that you're not thinking, you can see what you're thinking about and you can see what your mind contains. And then you can erase the lies, because many of the worries we have are assumptions of what will go wrong as opposed to actual things that will go wrong. And so we get rid of that thought, of the thoughts that are negative or the thoughts that are untrue, and then address the ones that are true. And the final tip I'd have as well is talking to somebody. Many of us, especially in our Nigerian culture, tend to bottle things up and not really share the nitty-gritty of what we're going through, either out of shame, we don't want to be laughed at or ridiculed. But then when you have somebody to speak to and you can confide in someone, and obviously not everyone, you've got to be wise in who you're choosing, it really does help to share the burden.
So the last point that you talked about sharing with somebody or opening up to somebody, and you did also mention that who you talk to matters. So for you, how were you able to decide the kind of people or the kind of person that you opened up to about challenges that you were facing? And I mean, how do you determine who deserves to hear your story?
I love the word deserve. It's a combination of gut, intuition, and wisdom. So the intuition comes into play, and for us women, we're blessed to have deep intuitive faculties. Knowing just without even speaking to a person, there is a part of you that's telling you constantly, don't be saying this to this person. But let's put that aside, because not everyone is intuitive. Wisdom is looking at what you see and believing that it's true. So when you have people who seem to only be around you when you're going through a rough patch and they only want to converse with you and talk about your problems, that's a bit of a red flag. When you have someone who subtly puts you down or asks you questions like, well, why did you make that stupid decision? And they're not speaking from a place of love, that's another red flag. People are qualified not in the moment, but they're qualified over a period of time. You look back and see who has journeyed with me over the years and how have they been? Have they been consistent? Have they been supportive? Do they only show up when the going is good for me? And those are some of the ways in which you begin to curate your friendship space and pull out the people that don't belong. I really believe in putting friends and relationships in concentric circles. Some are closer to me than others, and you create those boundary lines because it's necessary I'd like to use the word you use, to permit people who can come in and who can't. There's a phrase I love that I say often, that not everyone has earned the right to see your soul undressed. Just because you are in a state where you really want to unburden and the person next to you is the only available person does not mean that automatically gives them the right to see all of you.
All right, let's talk about setbacks and downturns. We have a lot of people who, let's say life used to be good, but all of a sudden, maybe due to circumstances, government policies, certain decisions, maybe mistakes even, going through a rough patch, going through a time. And part of our conversation this morning is how one can build resilience in such moments. It seems easy to say, but it is really not an easy thing to do. How do you navigate in situations like that?
Well, you've got to do the practice. I mean, it's not any difference. So the whole thing begins with mindset. I've got a podcast called Living Inside Out because I believe that the way to make effective change on the outside is to start on the inside. And the inside means your mind. So you begin with having the right mindset. One thing I would say is to globalize your pain, which means recognize that you're not the only person going through this. This reduces the burden of seemingly carrying it alone and sharing it with other people. The economy is not affecting just you. You're not the only person that's lost a business. You're not the only person that's lost your home. You're not the first person it's going to happen to, and you won't be the last. And that mindset already has a positive effect of reducing the load, because when we go through life and we're going through challenges, we tend to see it in physical terms, like I'm carrying a load. And that's where the term comes from. It feels like you're carrying a load. And it feels like I'm carrying all of this load alone. And your mind might tell you that you're carrying the load of the entire economy by yourself. But that's because you're feeling it with all of your soul. You're the one that's feeling it. So start by knowing that you're not the only person going through this, and that already reduces the burden. The second thing as well is to make sure that you're not in a state of comparison. So comparison comes when we look at other people's circumstances and wish that we had it, or we believe that if we had what they had, we would be better off. Now, circumstances are neutral. If you can look at the situation in the country or in your life as a neutral state of affairs, as opposed to a bad state of affairs, it gives you the power to build from it. Because if you see it as negative, as purely negative, your energy and your time is going to go towards trying to change a situation that probably cannot be changed, because you and I cannot change the economy today. We believe that a better set of circumstances will make our lives easier, but there is absolutely nothing we can do today about the circumstance that we believe is causing the pain in our lives. So you've got to look at it as neutral. When you look at it as neutral, it gives you a platform to build from. There are many people that have built in a recession. I started my business in a recession, and I started with $75, which at the time was probably closer to, I don't know, 1,000 Naira or 2,000 Naira, something like that. And I couldn't get money from anywhere else. But when I got it out of my mind that the only answer to my situation was money, I was able to recognize that there were other opportunities around me. I learned how to build a website. I utilized my relationships with people. I went and every time I got a rejection from a supplier because I was looking to set up this luxury baby furniture brand in the United Kingdom. And every time they told me, no, you can't, because we want you to have a physical space, or we want you to invest X amount of money into the project, I would go back and think of a solution or a comeback for them, but I wouldn't go back to them. I'll go to the next person and say, well, I know you prefer that I have, X amount of money. I prefer that I have, but this is the reason why this will work without it. So every time you hit a wall, think about a solution. How can I overcome that? Not how can I change the wall, but how can I navigate my way around it?
Oh,
All right. Very well said, then. I'm definitely sure that those watching right now are getting their minds renewed from the words that you're speaking. Let's now look at the mental health of people. Now, I mean, there's no way we'll have this conversation without me adding the fact that June is Mental Health Awareness for Men. I don't know if I'm sure you're aware of that. So can you briefly, I mean, you're a person who has to do with mind shift, mental state a lot of time, aside from the fact that you're also a businesswoman and you're very good at it as well. So can you speak briefly to what is it about the mental health of a man that some persons just decide not to pay attention to?
A lot of it is socialized. So we've grown up being told, be tough, don't cry, boys don't cry, don't show emotions. And while men and women are physiologically and psychologically different to an extent, there are some basic makeups that we have. There is a basic makeup that we have that is just being human. And a human experiences a challenge and has a natural emotional response to it. Now, when you start to suppress that response and tell boys not to cry, or a boy is too sensitive, or are you a girl? Why are you doing this? Why are you crying? Why are you whining about things? What ends up happening is boys grow up learning to bottle and not deal with their emotions. And when they go through challenging seasons, rather than express it so that they can get help or let it out so it doesn't live within them, they end up suppressing it and not even addressing it. a lot of men don't even address or admit to themselves that they're going through stuff. And the whole idea that women are the sensitive, soft ones and they're allowed to cry and men shouldn't cry is one reason why the mental health of men has been ignored. Physically, men are stronger, and we associate physical strength to mental strength as well. So we assume that, oh, they're not going through anything, they're okay. And we bypass them and ignore. And it's one of the worst things we can do.
All right, thank you so much for shedding light on that. There is just one thing that I want you to also touch on, which is the definition of success. Now, I know that many of us are probably wondering, okay, success, success is this, success is that. But there's been a huge conversation and argument regarding what is success and what is not success. For example, some people say that, oh, as a woman, whether you have a job, be a CEO, be whatever it is you want to be, you cannot be said to be successful unless you have a man, that is, you have a husband. While some people argue that, no, I am still successful whether I have a man or not. So you as a speaker and a mind strategist, let's hear from you. What is the definition of success? And at what point can a person really say, yes, I am successful?
That's a great question. Well, success is what it is to you. It's a very personal and individual experience. No one has a right to define what success is for you except yourself. Your goals and mine are completely different. What matters to you is very different from what matters to me. On the subject of using the example you used about a woman being married and therefore being considered to be successful, well, if my desire is to be incredibly happy, fulfilled, have a career. Okay, it'll be nice if I have a life partner and I'm married. But then I end up being in an unhappy marriage, or I'm married to a brute, for example. Well, you're going to think I'm successful because of the external appearance of my life. But then I know that I'm not. And so you can't really use a blanket term to describe what success is, because it's got to be personal. For a person who is living with depression, success is the ability to get up on a Monday morning, have a shower, and then get back into bed and cry the rest of the day because they got up for the first time in 5 days, right? So success is different for every person. For a person whose goal is to make a lot of money, and again, our goals and our desires are birthed out of a number of factors. One is our personality. Two is our purpose, which is wired into our spirit. And your purpose pulls out the desire for you to chase it. So that becomes a goal for you. And another aspect of success is who you are actually designed to be. And so when you are thinking about your plans and your goals and so on, it really should be done exclusively of other people. This has got to be what you want for yourself, what you desire, what you long for. Your genetic makeup matters. Your upbringing also matters. If you were raised in a home where you were told that without being married, you're nothing, or if you don't become a doctor or a lawyer or an architect, then you are nothing, then you're going to feel like a failure. There's a story I'll tell you very quickly, a true story about a doctor I read about in the United States who was highly accomplished. And in his little town, he won yet another award, Man of the Year or something like that. So he goes to this event and his parents are seated. They were part of the audience, being really proud of him. And he gets called up to receive his award, one of so many. And he gets up there, picks up the microphone, looks at his mom and dad and says, "Mom, Dad, this is for you. I hope you are happy." And he bursts into tears. And he said, "All I ever wanted to do was play the guitar, but you wouldn't let me. You forced me to become a doctor." And so this guy was accomplished. He was excellent in his craft. He did everything well. He won awards. He was respected and revered. He had it all together from an external point of view. You and I would think he was successful, but he considered himself a failure because he never achieved what he really wanted to do with his life. So success is personal.
All right, thank you so much for that. That is that's a call to somebody who is wondering, what am I doing with myself? I mean, we had some people then in school that were probably studying a particular course that were forced on them by their parents, but it wasn't what I mean. I even know someone who had to switch courses in his second year and never told his parents that he had switched, and it was on the graduation day that they discovered that what he was graduating for wasn't what they've been paying school fees for. So at that point, Tokes, what would you do as a parent if you discovered that your child that you have been, let's say paying school fees for, pumping money and support into what you thought that they were doing, but that is not what they end up doing, knowing that it is your desire, but you never found time to check if it's their desire? What would you do as a parent?
Well, me personally, I don't believe in forcing careers on children. So my children are all on the path that they have chosen for themselves. I confess that it can be nerve-wracking because sometimes I think, have we made the right choice? Are they going the right way? But we've looked at their natural gifts and abilities. So in that regard, I can't really speak to that. But for a mom who that has happened to, or a parent that's the situation right now, the issue is not really what your child is studying or what they've chosen to do. It's more about you coming to terms with the fact that you might be their parent, but they're a whole human. They are autonomous on their own. They have their desires, they have their goals, they have their purpose, they have their abilities and their gifts. And you've got to recognize that that is who they are. The other thing as well is making sure that the conversations, the relationship is invested in throughout their lives, because you cannot not have an open relationship with your child throughout their lives. And then when they become 18, 19, and they go to university, you suddenly expect that they're going to open up to you. If you have a relationship with them where nothing is off the table, they can talk about anything with you, they will comfortably tell you, well, I'm not really enjoying this course and I want to do it. I want to do something else instead, as opposed to the cloak and dagger way of handling affairs. The answer to that really starts before the situation arises, not after. If you're already there and you've obviously come to this place where you stand and it's too late to make any difference, my thing is that relationships are more important than careers, and it's more important that you have a healthy, positive relationship with your child than for them to become your version of success. Because what's the point of them doing what you want them to do and becoming hugely successful in your eyes, but then you don't have a relationship or a closeness with them?
Okay.
Let's begin to wind down on the conversation this morning. I think it was Martin Luther who said something along the lines of, if you can't fly, run. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. Just make sure that you're moving forward. And a major part of our conversation this morning is on how you can persevere even in the midst of setbacks. And I know for everyone, in different shapes and sizes at different levels, we have challenges and things that one might consider a setback for you. And I mean, this would be a message to other people now. What is the one thing that you remember? What is the one thing that keeps you moving forward no matter the challenge or no matter the setback that you've had to deal with?
It's the picture of my future. I believe that the picture that I have imagined for myself, the future I have imagined for myself, I believe that it is true. I believe it's a real picture. It's not a figment of my imagination. It's not random. It is actually true. And that's where my inspiration comes from. Many of us draw inspiration from what's around us, but that's always changing. People leave. Influencers that you've looked up to and you thought they were the be-all and end-all, they get into scandals and what have you, and you find out that a lot of what they had been saying was just engineered and not real. So there's a lot that's around us that's unreliable, and we can't really put our focus and our attention on it. looking at the future, having a very clear vision of where you're headed, keeping it in front of you in a practical form. I use a vision board. Keeping it in front of you, reminding yourself of what that looks like, writing a day in your life 5 years from now frequently as though it's already happened, are some of the ways in which you can remain inspired by your future. So simple answer is let your future inspire you. Allow the picture of your future to pull you forward.
That is absolutely profound. Thank you so very much for your time this morning, Cynthia.
Yeah, I think that it just be something very little that I would want her to touch on while she
Very well then.
gives her final words. You talked about future, allowing your future to guide you. How about you speak to a person who doesn't even know what their future hold? Maybe they used to know before, but suddenly they just say, okay, what exactly is even my future? What is even my purpose? It's so easy for us to tell people that let your purpose drive you, let your future guide you, see what is in front ahead of you. But what if you have to speak to a person who doesn't even know what is ahead of them?
So you need to drop everything and let that become your purpose, as in the finding out of what your future is, of what you were made for, should become your full-time goal. And one way in which you can do that is to reduce the noise that's around you. You see, your future is wired into you anyway. Your goal, your purpose is inside you. It's not outside you. And too often we're looking around, we're watching multiple videos from gurus. We're reading best-selling books. We're listening to 10,000 different podcasts and shorts and getting all of this conflicting information. And sometimes it might not even be conflicting, but it's someone else's information when your own soul is looking and desperate to speak to you. So quieten the noise. This morning I took Facebook off my phone because it had been a distraction. Quieten the noise, reduce your social media activities, reduce your intake of external information. And that is the biggest thing to do, because what you're looking for is not out there, it's within you. So reduce the noise around you. Another thing to do is curate your environment. Remove from your space anything that doesn't serve you. Trust that your God knows. Trust that your soul actually knows what you're looking for, what you need to do, and start to really listen to your life. If you listen to your life, you will hear what it's saying. Recognize what your natural gifts are. Don't play them down. If someone says to you, hey, you're really, really good at art, don't say, oh, it's just a little thing I do. Or they say, I love the way you speak. Just say, oh, it's because don't give excuses for the things that you're good at. Those are indications of what your purpose is. Those are indications of what you've been called to do. So don't look down on yourself at all if you've been doing that. Don't saturate your mind with external information if you've been doing that, and really quieten down the noise and listen to your life.
All right, then. I think that we haven't exhausted everything, though. We haven't, but I am very sure that somebody somewhere is touched. And one final word from you, Talks, before we let you run off. Today is World Drug Day, 26th of June. Can you briefly speak to someone who is having drug challenges, someone who is going through life, or a family who is trying to see how they can get their child or children from this shackle as we celebrate this day or commemorate this day? Just a word or two for a person going through drug challenges.
Absolutely. Surround yourself with people who support you. Don't surround yourself with anyone who makes you feel less than. You might have a drug problem. You're not less than. There is nothing demeaning about you as a person. In the eyes of God, we're all equal, whether you're on drugs or not. There is no hierarchy of humans, regardless of position. So surround yourself with people who are supportive of you. Be prepared to embrace the hard. One of the issues with addiction is that your body has become accustomed to the drug, so that you don't know where your desires begin and the desires of the drug start. You don't know where your desires end and the desires of the drug begin. And so there is almost no demarcation between you and the substance or whatever it is you're medicating with. And so you've got to be prepared to face the hard. which requires a separation, and you will need professional help. If you can't afford professional help, then you've got to find a trustworthy mentor that can help you through the process. Now, it's not to say that you will come off the drugs today, tomorrow, even next year, but it's all a process. You know, it's not impossible. Don't ever think that it's impossible. If you're a parent and your child is dealing with this, be a support to them. Don't put them down. Don't say this useless child or what have you. What they need is love and support. They don't need to be demeaned. They know what they're doing is wrong. They know and they feel like crap already, to use for want of a better term. Don't make them feel any worse, because they will run from you and they will run to the arms of those who will support them with the same thing that you don't want them to do.
All right, thank you so much, Doug. Silver and gold we don't have, but what we have we would give, which is say a very big thank you. Doug's Aro Torre, which she is a businesswoman, a speaker, mindset strategist. It has been an interesting time here on the show, and we do not take your time for granted. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I've really had a great time. Thanks for having me.
Thank you immensely.
Okay.
A very interesting one there. Well, I'm glad slowly we'll get into the end of the show, but we still have a couple of more things to bring your way this morning. I think we'll round up with what our new words are for today. We'll have a couple of words to share with you. Every day is an opportunity to learn, and today presents yet another opportunity. Let's have our new words for today. Okay, we'll start with this one, which is ambivalence.
The word of the day.
Okay, and what it means is the state of having two opposing feelings at the same time, or being uncertain about how you feel. An example there is his ambivalence to the path he was currently on did not stop him from continuing to walk down it. That's an interesting example there.
Absolutely. So it's a word of the day, actually. So you could write that down. Like I always tell you, write the words down so that you can always know. Sometimes it could be a feeling, sometimes it could be a state. So you can always go back and say, oh, this is how I feel. This is the word for it. So ambivalence it is. Let's now go to our next new word.
Okay, this one is friolero. It sounds Spanish or Portuguese. Well, it means a person who is especially sensitive to cold weather and temperatures. Oh my goodness, this might just be talking about me. Friolero.
Let's now move on to our last word for today.
But the fact that you're friolero doesn't mean you should frolic when the weather is cold.
Wow. Interesting.
Okay, this is definitely the fear of something. I hope I don't bite my tongue on this one. Proditophobia. Okay, proditophobia, and what it means is the fear of being betrayed by someone you love.
So that's our new word for today. Write it down. I'm not saying
memorize it.
Well, you can memorize
Put it to use.
Even though you don't put it to use, but once
that's
somewhere.
That's the whole essence of it. Imagine having to describe a way that you feel to somebody, and you're trying to talk about a feeling where you're feeling two opposite things at the same time, and instead of saying any other thing, you say, I'm having quite the ambivalent feeling this morning. Imagine how intelligent you would sound. You know. Please,
when you're doing that, just say you learned it on Rapid Dawn. No harm in that. Just give credit to where you learned it from.
Oh my goodness.
All right. So before we run out of here this morning, let's look at a bit of the evolution of communication. We have been saving this content for a long time now. Let's briefly look at the evolution of communication. Right then, maybe we'll bring that tomorrow. All right, so I will say that thank you so much for staying with us from 7 till this time. It has been a great show. I'm definitely sure that you've enjoyed yourself, you've learned a thing or two, you've gotten inspired, and your mind has been renewed. So if you love what you saw today, you can always see it over and over again because it's going to be on our YouTube channel. So go subscribe to our YouTube channel and also follow us on all our social media platforms on Facebook and Instagram and our website.
www.rbnradiotv.com. There's a lot happening on all of our platforms, whether it's Facebook, our website, any of our social media platforms, and you're missing out on a great deal if you're not following, subscribing, and being a part of the conversations.
So we'll end with the fashion runway this morning. Cynthia Agbo is my name.
Ugochukwu Madumere. Adios.